If you've got problems, maybe we can solve them. It's Personal Problems with Katy Newton and Soma79. Hey, Soma79 and Katy Newton here. What is going on? We are together again for the first time. It's the first time I ever met in real life.
In real life.
Katy, pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. I know he did not disappoint, I want to tell you. First thing I like about this is that first we're in Fountain Square. We're at the Slap Fest, the Sticker Fest, right?
Yep, Slaptown.
But the best thing about Fountain Square is there is a really primo Goodwill there. And so we got this fine pink garment there. I got this kimono inspired by Doritos, Saved by the Bell, and of course the Secrets of the Orient. So I'm here today, and we're going to talk about our upcoming podcast.
Yes, Personal Problems.
Personal Problems, right?
Yes. So we've been teasing this for a while. Unfortunately, schedules are what schedules are. So we appreciate everybody who sent their problems in. They've been patient. Fortunately for us, most problems don't get solved overnight. So I'm guessing a lot of these people are probably struggling with the same stuff. But we're here to help you today. We're going to go through some of the backlog of questions that we haven't gotten to, and we'll be doing these, going forward, maybe over Zoom or something. But we're going to go through some of these questions today and see if we can help some of you people out.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is, so just a little bit about our backgrounds. I'm a licensed mental health counselor associate and also a art therapist. But Soma79 seems to have a real knack for, I don't know, you just seem like you've done a lot of self-study. You're a very insightful person. Every time I talk with Soma, I learn something new about how to navigate humanity just through his own self-discovery, and it's really interesting. So I'm excited to be able to get to share this experience because I think you're really wise.
I appreciate the navigating humanity because that is a good way of putting it.
So we're going to start with one submission that we've got so far. This is great. This is because we're not coming out with really deep stuff. The first one says here. I'll keep this lighthearted and fun. I want to get a tattoo of my cat and need advice. Where do I get the tattoo? Shoulder, arm, don't suggest legs. Now, how big should it be? What style? Help. It's a personal, permanent problem. I'll text you pics. Tim, this is Tim, by the way. That's you.
So, yeah.
I was going to ask you anyways, but this is a fun format to do it.
Yes. So this is my friend Kat. How you doing, Kat? And I hadn't seen you in a long time, and she actually was at my house a few weeks ago. It's the first time I've seen her in a long time, and we were talking about this. So Kat unfortunately lost one of her cats in the past few years, and she's thinking about getting memorialized somewhere on her body, and hasn't done it yet. We talked about it, and I offered my help on the designs, but I would always say in terms of advice, I like to keep all my tattoos in two parts of my body. I had this thing where I decided that I was only going to tattoo the left part of my body. I was going to keep the right part of my body completely normal. Not normal, but completely untouched. So that if I look at myself on one side of the mirror, it's the way that I was made, and the other side, it's what I've sort of done to myself. I like it that way. So I would say when thinking about tattoo placement, just kind of think about the overall, how you want your body to flow, and just what areas you're willing to give up and what areas you're willing to look different. And the funny thing about tattoos, and I know, Kat, I don't believe you have any tattoos now, or if you do, I think they're pretty small. The weird phenomenon I found with tattoos, and I know you have more than me, is that whenever I get one, I go to bed the night before going, this will be the last night my body looks like this. And then I wake up and I get the new one, and by the next day it feels like it's always been there.
That's wild. You really have put some thought into this sort of thing when you do this, right?
Yeah.
This, for me, my whole tattoo journey started when I was 14 years old. Very impulsive. Lots and lots of regrets. There's age limitations on getting tattoos for a reason, because you're not into Beanie Baby tattoos when you're an adult, but maybe when you're 14 you're really into it. So the thing about, for me, is think about, it sounds like it's something that's really special to you, and do you want to be able to be reminded of your cat all the time? Should it be in a place where you see it? Do you want to put it on a hand or on a wrist, something like that, or is it something more private? How does it need to be stylized in a way that honors your cat's personality, which I'm sure your precious cat had personality? So if you're stylizing it in a way, does it need to look literally like your cat, or is it going to be your cat smoking a cigarette with a margarita? Right. How are we doing it, the style, to honor the cat's personality? But I think putting it on your, giving it some thought, right? Because obviously, I'm not sure if this person already has tattoos.
I don't
or
think
not.
and she does. She doesn't have very many.
Might be your first tattoo
Yeah.
then. So yeah, it would be a big deal. It doesn't sound like this is going to be an impulsive dolphin tattoo in Panama City Beach or anything. So
Mind you, I'm getting a Cookie Monster tattoo in 2 weeks.
why would you not?
An ex of mine lost a couple of her cats last year, and what she was planning on doing was getting their paw prints tattooed on her.
It's precious.
Yeah, so for that, it's like obviously it's a little less, it's gonna be smaller, and it's probably just, means more, it's just more for you, but I don't know, that's always an option too. So I'd say think outside the box in terms of, because I thought about getting my first dog that passed away tattooed on me, and it was gonna be really realistic, but now I'm actually thinking, I have 2 cat tattoos now. I just think of one of them as representing one cat, one as another, and I'll probably get a dog tattoo of the dog from this Drew comic I like and have that represent my dog as a kid. So for me, it's like I'm not going to get them on them, but I have things that make me think of them. So
It's pretty amazing. Okay, well, lots of. I hope that was helpful to answer your question.
Too.
Happy trails with your tattoo, and I hope that you'll send us a picture so we'll get to see exactly how that came up. It sounds like you might be a part of the design process.
I hope
there.
so. Yeah.
All right, so let's look at the next question to see what we've got here.
That was a good warm up because I think we're going to start getting a little more emotionally.
Yes, for sure. Okay. I'm gonna have you read if you
Okay.
can.
Get
if
your
you can.
glasses out.
I'm struggling to read. I might need to get some bifocals.
Okay. Just thought of something. Not sure if this is what you're looking for. My friend was telling me about something that happened to her a few months ago. She's almost 70 and said her daughter keeps talking about boundaries. Both of her parents, my friend and her husband have crossed. She asked her daughter what were boundaries. She grew up not having any. She remembered other than curfews. Her daughter got upset with her and couldn't believe they didn't understand boundaries. She said she wasn't going to talk to them for a while and was setting that boundary. My friend wanted me to help her understand what went wrong. Not sure I can give her the information that would help. Suggestions. This is actually a great question.
Can you summarize that for me?
All right, so basically what it sounds like is I got a little lost in exactly who it is that is having the boundary problem, but I think it doesn't really matter so much. But it's essentially that this person's daughter has decided that their parents were not respecting their boundaries, that they were not they didn't even understand the concept of boundaries. And so I think it's probably a good place to start. So for those who don't think in terms of boundaries, it's really it's where you draw the line. It's where you say, this is an example. I've had a family member that I've had a lot of problems with. And ultimately what I had to say to one of my other family members to explain it is, I said, look, nobody talks to me the way he talks to me. And he's not an exception to nobody. And I'm like, and this is not, I don't want to go into details, but this was very harsh, prolonged stuff. And I'm just like, it's as simple as that. There are objective rules. And I'm not trying to say that I'm precious and no one deserves my time, but there are objective rules to the way that somebody can treat me. If Katy treated me the way that this other person treated me, I wouldn't talk to her either. And I think boundaries are sort of, the way I think of it is, those are the objective ways about how you will accept being treated. Now, it is possible to create boundaries that are unhealthy and to create boundaries that are dangerous and that do not service you. So not all boundaries are necessarily good. They involve thought and they involve, experience, and they involve a lot of critical thinking. But the idea of boundaries, I think, are pretty valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of different types of boundaries. I think sometimes if somebody, like I said, this person's parents they don't even know what boundaries are. They might perhaps think it's maybe just a physical boundary, like don't come in my room. But boundaries also, that means my time. You are infringing on my time.
Right.
You're infringing on my emotions. You're infringing on my sexual boundaries. There's lots of different types of boundaries, but let's go to like a time boundary, for example, of like, okay, somebody's chronically showing up late, or somebody monopolizing your time or putting too many demands on your time. That sort of thing, your time is really valuable. And there's something when we think about boundaries, there's something that I learned about called the heaven's reward fallacy, is where you continue to do and do and do for people, and you think when you continue to do all these things in this altruistic manner that you will be rewarded, and that is a fallacy, because that's just not the case. And so herein lies where boundaries get crossed. If I do everything for you, I turn myself inside out for you, I sacrifice my time, my money, my emotions for this job, for this relationship, for this family, and I get nothing in return, that's when you have to start setting boundaries for yourself.
Right.
One thing that's really valuable to think about is, am I being kind or am I being nice? Boundaries is being kind to me and you. That means I'm doing something today that is going to make you respect me and make you understand how you're going to treat me. Being nice means, well, okay, I'll just be a nice girl. I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to lose self-respect for myself just because I don't want to upset anybody. But we have to remember when we set boundaries that we have to do it from a place that's not reactionary. I'm not setting a boundary because I'm mad at Tim. Like, okay, I'm never talking to you again because you upset me, and that's my boundary. I'm protecting my peace. It's not like that. You have to self-reflect. You have to understand why this boundary is going to be there, how you're going to make it effective, how you're going to stick to it, and you have to know that you cannot control how others react to your boundary that you set forth.
Right.
It can be very upsetting for people, and especially it sounds like for some of these parents that have no idea what a boundary is, they may think this is like some sort of psychology psychobabble, but it's actually very simple.
Right. That's a big thing. Is I think people today grow up expecting privacy. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we deserve our privacy. But previous generations were not granted that privacy. And they also there was almost less to be private about. Like the world was a smaller place. And I think people knew more what people were doing. And now I think it's a lot of people are having a hard time adjusting to the fact that things are a lot different now. And that we're talking about people in their 70s. They really grew up in many different eras of America that changed faster than the entire time changed. It's like it was a hard generation to grow up in. Well, I guess what I'm kind of getting at is that at some point you have to be reasonable about how much somebody is going to change, and it's probably better to change your approach to how you deal. Like you may be the only ones able to set boundaries there, and your boundary may have to be tailored around knowing that you can give them this much time but not this much time.
Right. And in this one, I'm rereading the question here. It says that she asked her daughter what were boundaries. She grew up not having any she remembered other than curfews. Her daughter got upset with her and couldn't believe they didn't understand boundaries. So that sounds reactionary. You got to give them a little bit of compassion, a little bit of grace, considering I really liked when you said there was less to be private about. Back then, things were a little bit more simple. Now with the dawning of like how things are, what type of information we have access to, what type of things we can engage in, what kind of things we can explore about our identity or that we can indulge in, there are more things to be private about. But being reactionary to your parents, I would encourage the person to give it some time to get rooted, to get grounded, and really think about what you need to say, and always use that classic script of like I statements when you're communicating boundaries to somebody. I feel intruded upon when you cross this boundary. My request is you respect XYZ. It's a script you can use, and not to be inauthentic in talking, but it is sometimes when we're having hard conversations, we get tongue-tied. Right? So you have this little script in your head of this thing that you stick to. It's called interpersonal effectiveness in DBT therapy. So you don't have to get tongue-tied, and you can stick to what you need to say and not backtrack. That way you don't leaving the conversation with less self-respect, and your point is clearly articulated.
And other people too will often, if they're not ready for these conversations, we'll come from a lot more emotional place. A lot of people, when they're confronted, they come from an emotional place. So if you know it's going to be a difficult conversation for somebody, at least for me, I take it upon my responsibility to think about what their reaction is going to be, to think about how I think they may respond, and try to prepare myself for that, and just kind of know that not everybody's going to see things the way you see things, and that's okay, as long as you both walk away understanding each other's points and respecting each other. It's
right. One important thing too when it comes to parents and children, sometimes the parent, as a parent myself and as a person that helps reunite families through therapy, there's just one rule of, for the parent, do you want a relationship with your child, or do you want to be right?
Yes.
And so remembering that, like, you know what, my kid feels this way, I'm going to validate their emotions. Lots of time parents come in and they're like, it wasn't that bad, I didn't do that thing to her. But if your kid believes that this is what happened and this is their lived experience, the lens to which they view the world is different than their parents. You just accept it as their truth, and you put it to the side and say, I'd rather have a relationship with my child than needing to be right now.
And here's one thing too that I think a lot of parents don't think about, is that they don't think about how much of your life they have no idea about. that like even look when you're even in high school or in school, it's like you're spending 8 hours a day with 100 or something people that are all influencing your life. And I think the advice a lot of parents give, whether it's just say no or just don't do this, it doesn't hold up in today's. Like there are not simple, I mean, in some ways things are simple. If you want to lose weight, you got to take in less calories and do exercise. But that's also it sounds simple, but it's a very complicated actually pulling those things together. I think a lot of parents want to be like, it's so simple. It's like, just do this. You're like, well, when you were a kid, everybody was being pushed in that one direction. It was great for half the kids, but the other half were getting left behind. I was the type of kid that would have got left behind in the 50s and the 60s. So for me, I don't feel that I need to be living up to those ideals now in 2025 because that was the generation they grew up in. I'm hoping that our generation ends up we're used to change more, and I hope that benefits us in the long run.
Absolutely. And a good approach for the parent, for the mom that needs help in this question, is to when you're talking to you're doing good in that jacket. The jacket is working, isn't it?
It is.
Jacket is working. Is to and don't ever come or try not to come at your child with judgment of like boundaries. What is this? But to be curious. You want to be curious, right? Like tell me, teach me. I want to know. Like I this is genuinely something I don't know a lot about, and I'm really curious what it is. I'm curious, how do I engage in a boundary with you? And just teach me. And when you take away the judgment and enter into more curiosity type of stance, it makes it a more collaborative relationship, and they feel like they can come to you. If your kid doesn't feel safe coming to you, they will not, and they will go to somebody else that perhaps doesn't share your values. And this might be more for somebody who's like a younger child and stuff, but you've got to think about it and think about it in that way. Be curious about it.
And so the two major reactions, the two toughest reactions you probably will get when approaching your parents are going to be either anger or shame. Because anger is probably goes in a place of confusion, a place of not understanding, about feeling like they're being attacked, whether that's fair or not. And shame is that they know what you're saying is right but are hurt by it. Now those are okay feelings for people to feel, but you need to walk through them. You need to be prepared for, you don't shout your way through anger, and you don't shout your way through shame. And shaming people it's not a way to get it doesn't work. It's not a way to get where you want. So you need to just learn how to navigate anger, other people's anger and shame. Those are very good, because when people feel shame and you realize that, it's really an opportunity to reach them. They're in a very vulnerable state, and it's like, not that you want to take advantage of vulnerable states, but it's a place where you can meet them halfway and go, look, we've all felt shame. It's like, it's a common feeling that people don't talk about. We could talk about this one all day.
Yeah, for sure. Shame's heavy. I know shame is a big thing. You know what's an interesting thing? This will be a sidebar from this conversation. Moving on from that question, is that on the spectrum of narcissistic personality disorder, shame is at one end of the spectrum and grandiosity is at the other.
That's interesting.
Because that narcissistic personality disorder typically comes from a very, very deep place of shame.
Yes, and that sits with my experience with people like that.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I have my experience clinically with narcissistic personality disorder, which is actually very rare. They say to me, I have never experienced shame, not once in my life, shame nor guilt. And just the statement like that alone just says, okay, there's something you are very, very deeply ashamed about.
It's like, I've never not experienced shame.
I know, every day it's my baseline. I always have a sense of shame. Like shame yourself. I do, seriously, like I've dealt with so much feelings of shame this week.
Too. I've had to work through constant feelings of shame, but now it's like they're just infrequent, but it's a hard thing to work through. So.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure.
What do we got for new questions?
All right, next one that we've got. Let's see. All right. How do we navigate life under this fascist regime? All right. Well, I know how I personally navigate it, but what's your advice?
It's hard. I would say try to compartmentalize in a weird way without falling into the zone of hypernormalization. Like hypernormalization is the thing where this horrible stuff that happens every day becomes normal and we don't think about it. We're able to go to the grocery store at the same time that we're able to watch, children being bombed and people being dragged out of their homes. And a lot of us we already all live in this zone a little bit where we're expected to go about and doing normal stuff while incredibly ridiculous stuff happens. Like, I saw a meme the other day that said that 20 years ago Metallica was suing people over downloading one of their songs. They're suing them for millions of dollars. Now the millionaires are out there just taking all the art, all the music, and throwing it into AI and creating these things and like making money off of it. It's like, what's the difference here? And where was I going with that?
We're talking about how do you survive in this fashion?
Oh yeah. So like basically, morality is a little all over the place, and I think sometimes they want you to remember that. They want you to think that all this stuff, that the way you treat people is very malleable. But I think the way to stay centered is to align yourself with your values and sit in them and stay with them. It's okay to question them, but like, it's the previous question. Understand your boundaries, understand your values, and understand the areas where you need to keep yourself safe. So I think finding the place where you're doing what you can on a daily basis, you're supporting the people you're with, and you're truly living in your values is the best way to do it, while trying to help your community as much as possible.
Yeah,
and vote.
I think one thing in the fascist regime, you think about, there's a lot of things that are going on in our country and globally that we just really do not have any control over. You can go out, you can protest, you can vote, you can write your congressman, things to that effect, right? But here's something that we do have control over. We have control over doing the next right thing that's in front of us and working within our community. So for me, I work within the community of Indianapolis, downtown, and I work as a therapist there in community mental health. These are people that have really no protective factors, no family, no income, Medicaid, usually that sort of thing. By doing something, and you don't even have to work in the helping profession, but doing something to be of service with the people that are struggling in your community, you can help one person at a time, and that is something you can actually have a real-time effect on. Like, I can worry and fuss and wring my hands over things that are happening globally that I cannot control. You can raise awareness about the things, and those things are important, but at the end of the day, we really do not have control over those things, right?
Yep.
So I think by being of service, doing the next right thing that's in front of you, that you can have a purpose-filled life by helping those in your community, those that are struggling in your community, and that way you don't feel so powerless. And those who are of service are some of the happiest people in this world. And so when you are dealing with existential despair, with the things that are happening in the world, you know that you were of service, that you were of utility this day, whether it's something big or whether it's something small. And you can start in your community by doing the next right thing in front of you.
And one thing too is be honest with yourself about your gifts. And that's an important thing for us all to do, is be honest with ourselves about what we're good at, what we've worked hard to get good at, what we've worked hard and not gotten good at, and what we'll never be good at. And understand those things. When you identify your gifts, like I at this point I would say that I have an artistic gift, and because I've worked at it very hard. So what I ended up doing is I found myself in a place where I was feeling almost shame for how much I was working on my art. Didn't want to stop working on my art though. So what I did is I decided about a third of the time I spend working on art will be dedicated to doing stuff to help others. To taking my gift and saying, hey, this dude somewhere that I know on Instagram needs a cover for his single. He can't afford it. He would like a good one to help him out. I'm just going to help this person out. And I found that that's not only, it's forced me to do art that's pushed my boundaries and made me learn more. It's forced me to have conversations I wouldn't have had before, and to meet people and ingrain the community and tell people they matter. Because that's what when you do something for someone like that, when you give them your time, you're telling them that they matter. And that's really what in a fascist regime is, people don't feel like they matter anymore. So that's what it kind of comes down to, is reminding each other that they matter, and being around people that remind you that you matter. And like I mentioned when we were coming out here, I didn't know what to expect, but there's a lot of community out here. And I was walking through Kentucky today, and I didn't know what to expect in Kentucky. I saw a flag that was full of pot leaves and rainbows. Did not expect that in Kentucky.
Right.
And it's like, just try not to have preconceived notions of individuals. Be mad at, there's certain individuals you can be mad at, I'll give you full permission. But be cognizant of the difference between human beings and groups. And just try to practice kindness on a day-to-day basis until you're not able to. until don't be walked on, but try to approach things with kindness, and you win very few arguments by getting angry. So try to stay calm and try to, and this is I think maybe the most practical advice that I have. When you're dealing with someone in your life who's hardcore, we'll call it fascist because that's what we're talking about here, don't make statements, ask questions. Ask them questions like, well, why do you feel that way? What makes you feel that way? What did you read that makes you feel that way? Have you read this? And by asking them questions, then you're forcing them to explain something maybe they haven't even fully thought out yet. And in the end, they can only get so mad at you for asking questions because that's all Joe Rogan says he does is ask questions. So keep asking those questions.
Right, it's called motivational interviewing. It's a technique that we use as an evidence-based practice in therapy sessions. Motivational interviewing, you just ask the right questions, and when you continue to ask questions, the person will come to the answer themselves, and they always develop insights. And then at the end of those conversations, you can summarize for clarity. You can say, so what I hear you saying is that you believe this, but you really don't have all of the facts. And I feel like when people base their belief system, and you can suss this out through asking questions, from fear, from exclusivity, things like that at the end of the day, they may come to the conclusion that their fascist ideas are invalid, and maybe you can help them. But yes, being curious, asking questions, but going back to what you said about like having community, especially in this time, finding people that will build you up, people that you can participate in a shared, like some sort of shared thing like art or community, something like that, and people that will make you feel good about being in America, because there are lots of positive people, there's lots of positive groups, lots of positive experiences. You can get bogged down really quick. And I also recommend to my clients too, of like, limit how much time you spend with the news, how much time you spend on social media. And I feel like that's where a lot of people get their information, and it goes back to that statement of when you stare into the abyss stares into you.
But the social media thing's interesting because spend your time there well, because the thing is, the only reason I'm in Indiana right now, and the only reason I'm talking to her is because of social media. It's because I grew up, I didn't feel like, I lived in a place that I felt like I never lived amongst people that felt like me. And eventually I realized those people exist in my phone, and if they're on my phone, they're in real life. And I started engaging with people and having, what I call village idiot syndrome. There's only one of me in my town, but there's one of me in every town. So I have to go find those my fellow village idiots, and here I am in Indiana.
Hello.
But it really does, like, social media is itself, I think, not good or bad. You can use it for good or bad. You can use it to send bad DMs of people to people, or you can use them to send good messages and start real relationships. So find those relationships, find the people out there that are looking into their abyss, and maybe they'll find you.
That's true. It can be an effective tool. And you know who I think is some people that are really getting bad information are maybe people perhaps my parents' age. I don't want to say, I don't want to call it out, but like baby boomers, and I could say even the person that asked this question is in that age group. It seems like they might be getting information because they don't know how to optimize it for relationships, right? You can optimize social media to build relationships, but we met on Instagram, to be fair, which is a little bit more artistic and expressive, and it uses imagery more so than words in many cases and things. And that's how I found him. I found him through his artwork when I was pursuing making art myself, and asked him for his advice.
That was like 2019. That was a long time ago.
That was before 2000.
Yeah, it would have been maybe 2018 then. Yeah, because I remember when it was funny because we had talked for a while, and you reminded me of that, and I totally forgot that ever happened. You know, but
yeah, it was for comic illustrations. Before I even got into the art therapy program, I had to take studio art classes, and so I don't know how I found you, but I had followed Tim on social media.
But that is an example of where, like, she had just reached out to me asking if I could help her with something, and I just did it because it felt like the right thing to do, and here we are years later, like meeting for the first time. It's like, that's as easy as it can kind of be, is that just be your earnest, honest self and find the people that will support you, and then the fascism won't feel as bad. You know, keep your eye on the ball a little bit, make sure you're voting, make sure you're asking questions, and make sure you're supporting your local community.
Be of service.
And you're right to be freaked out, you're right to be scared. This is some scary times, but we'll get through it together.
All right, let's stop here, and then we can do more.
All right, so we had some more questions that we'll be coming back with. We did about a half hour here, and Katie, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This has been a blast, and I hope you enjoy this. So send some more questions in Soma79.com/personal problems. We will answer them for you. All right?
Yes, we will. Thank you.
Peace. Bye. Hey, how you doing? So we realized that there was one question that we didn't get a chance to answer during the episode that we wanted to make sure we got in here. And so we decided that we would just answer it independently. We'll include both the videos in here and what have you. So we will jump on that right now. So this question comes to us from Katie's Fallen Angel G. I'm guessing Katie has a better idea who that is than I do. But I'm just going to read the question as it was entered here. Personal problems. Why are people so afraid of change? There's no perfect time in life for change, only the commitment to it. It's like diving into a swimming pool, not just dipping your toe in. Is there a difference between someone genuinely wanting to connect or just wanting attention? From the first conversation, people are all in, but as things slow down or get real, you realize that some people in your life are only talking to you when they're bored or something or someone else isn't responding. Last but not least, honesty. From day one, I was always taught to be honest, not cruel. If something isn't working out and you say something isn't working out, then you say something. If I didn't get the food mom cooked, I was taught to respectfully say, I don't care for it. If you like someone's shirt, say that. It may have just turned their whole day from bad to great. Honesty isn't just something about telling the truth or how you feel. It opens the door to respect and some really good friendships and relationships. Okay, so that was the question. I'm going to break this down a little bit because there's a few questions in here. So first one, why are people so scared of change? There's a lot of reasons. We're neurologically programmed to form these neural pathways in our brain that make the things that we've done previously easier to do on each consecutive day. So we're designed that way. We're designed to work in a way that we're kind of digging in the same rut on a daily basis. And so any change we have to do has to be a conscious effort. And a lot of people don't have the time to commit to a conscious effort on a daily basis, to give them the benefit of the doubt. There's a lot of people who just don't have the time because it is work, it is energy, it is burnt calories, and a lot of people do not have the calories to burn. That is one of the problems I think that we run into in this country, is that when they keep heaping problems on top of you, then you never have time to solve them, and you never have time to see that while someone else is running away with all the money at a macro level. But so change is always going to be difficult, and what I tell people all the time is it's hard enough to change yourself. It is darn near impossible to change somebody else. As your life goes on, you're really responsible for the change in yourself, and the best way to change somebody else is to set a good example. I truly believe that is that set a good example, and that's the best way to inspire positive change in the world. So let's skip ahead to the next question here. Is there a difference between someone genuinely wanting to connect or just wanting attention? Yeah, I think there's definitely a difference there. And I think it's fair to say that people, I've been on the online dating sites at many different points in my life, and there have been times where I've thought what I wanted was a serious relationship, and I found out in the moment that I wasn't. And then even sometimes that wasn't what I wanted, sometimes even vice versa. So, as I just said, that people are hard to change. It's hard to change people. They can be flighty, and it's like they can want things at different moments. They can see different people and decide that those people can fill this role in my life, but not this role. And I think that's where honesty comes in. And it just the way I try to deal with this is I try to be as earnest as possible in all of my communications with people. And, not a lot of people, not everybody is going to go for that approach. But what I found is that when you are sincerely earnest with someone, they tend to be earnest back at you. And that's typically, my solution is to lead with my best foot forward and give the option to genuinely connect. It's like once you've genuinely connected with people, you kind of know what it feels like. You see how it evolves over time, and usually it does take a little time. It's not something that happens overnight. When things like that do happen overnight, there's always that little bit of thinking that this is like a honeymoon period. But I would say just once you know what genuine connection feels like, realize that that's a lucky thing. You're not going to have it all the time, and you can't hold it against somebody else if it's not there. And it's a two-way street, and sometimes it doesn't last forever. That's something that, I think we've all had to learn sometimes in our lives, that there is such thing as a genuine connection that isn't going to last forever, and that's important to keep in mind. In terms of people just wanting attention, yeah, I think there are some people out there that just want attention, but I do think that it does become pretty obvious pretty quickly. They usually don't have that much to talk about. It's usually the interactions all revolve around a couple of kind of usually inconsequential things. And yeah, it's, it's not your job to fix everybody. It's not your job to be everybody's therapist, says the guy giving advice on the internet. But I think it's okay to just treat people with kindness and move on if that's what's best for you and best for them. Last but not least, honesty. From day one, I was always taught to be honest, not cruel. If something isn't working out, say something. If you don't like the food mom cooked, I was taught to respectfully say I don't care for it. So basically, it's just, I guess this isn't really a question, but it's just sort of some musings on honesty. So I do think honesty is very important, but it has to be delivered with a level of kindness. I don't believe that honesty, I've had to learn this lesson the hard way. So if anybody's out there who dealt with me at a younger age and thinks what I'm about to say is not really in line with their experience with me, I apologize for that, sincerely. But I do believe that honesty is you get what you give, and obviously sometimes it's a risk when you open yourself up in those directions. But cautiously honest is the way that I would recommend a lot of people sort of proceed, especially through dating. Reveal what you feel safe revealing in time, but you don't owe everybody your life story. That's one thing that I think. It's funny, when I was younger in dating, there was always this feeling in your early 20s that when you meet somebody, you share your entire life story with them and they know everything about you. And it seems like that seems to be the natural way that a lot of people go about relationships. At least that was my experience back then. As you get older, I find that isn't as important. I mean, it's about sharing the now. It's not about inspecting every area of somebody's life. It's not about judging things that you weren't around for. It's about just being there for each other and approaching relationships with kindness. You can expect a lot of yourself, expect a reasonable amount from other people. I think I've learned that when I approached life assuming that everybody's fighting that battle that we don't know about, and that, that when somebody makes a mistake, that it's not because they're a bad person or because it was about me. Just assuming people the benefit of the doubt until they prove otherwise has really done a lot for my life, and just approaching life in an honest way and being an honest, straightforward person. So you get what you give there, and it's okay if you realize people in your life aren't capable of giving what you're willing to give. Just still treat those people with kindness whenever is possible. And yeah, so that's my advice. We'll see what Katie has to say, and thank you so much for writing in. All right, peace.
All right, we're here as a little offshoot to answer one of the problems that came in for our personal problems podcast with Soma79. This is a really good one. There's a lot to unpack here, so I'm going to go ahead and read the question for personal problems. The question is, why are people so afraid of change? Right? That's a really great question. But then they go on to say, there's no perfect time in life for change, only the commitment to it. It's like diving into a swimming pool, not just dipping your toe in. That's a great approach to change, like just go for it, right? But people are uncertain to do those sorts of things. People like to do what's comfortable. They like to they like to get into old habits, old patterns, things that make them feel safe, and change can be a really scary thing. They go on to say this. Is there a difference between someone genuinely wanting to connect or just wanting attention? Absolutely. There's a difference between people just wanting to connect and wanting attention. And sometimes it can be difficult to figure those things out. But the more you do it and the more you connect, the more you'll be able to snuff those people out. When you get the experiences, when you, in retrospect, and you say, gosh, that really wasn't a connection. That person just was wanting attention. You learn something each time, right? But don't let it stop you from making connections and seeking genuine connections with people. Use it as a learning opportunity to develop wisdom and to hone in your instinct so you can suss those people out that just want attention. The next point they say, from the first conversations, people are all in, but as things slow down and get real, you realize that some people are in your life are only talking to you when they're bored or someone else isn't responding. Another thing can be difficult to suss out sometimes. Keep engaging with people and you will hone in that intuition. But also it sounds like this person that is sent this question in, that they really have a key attunement with their core values of what they're really looking for. And it sounds like they have been engaging with people that don't quite know who they are or what they want. And I say that because here's what they say. Last but not least, honesty. From day one, I was always taught to be honest, not cruel. If something isn't working out, you say something. If I didn't like the food mom's cooked, I was taught respectfully to say, I don't care for that. If you like someone's shirt, say that. You may have just turned their whole day from bad to great. And I like that. And that's a really positive thing to say. That's about being transparent. And being transparent in relationships is not as easy as telling mom you don't really like her cooking. The relationship with mom has already been established. We're just talking about a meal. Rather than saying, I'm just not that into you, that's really telling somebody, making somebody feel like that they're flawed in some way. But in all actuality, they are just not the one for you, but there will be somebody out there for you for sure. I think this person's really aligned with their core values. They want to be honest, they want to be transparent, and they also want to be a person that's going to be a cheerleader for you. They're going to say positive things to you. Say the positive thing when you notice the positive thing. That's a way to really cultivate meaningful relationships. But also, there's tactful ways to tell somebody, I'm just not that into you. But for me, for this person, I think that core values are very important to them. And the more that you put yourself out there and the more that you make connections with people, you'll hone in that instinct of who's there for real and who's just there for attention, but never looking back at it as something to be resentful about. It may be hurtful, but always gaining wisdom from these things and gaining resilience. And the more you do it, the more your distress tolerance expands, and the greater your ability to find the right one for you will come up. They go on to say in the very last line, honesty isn't just about telling the truth or how you feel. It opens a door to respect and some really good friendships and relationships. And that's absolutely right. And that's a very wise thing to say. And I think that this person is a very wise person. And I think if you just keep on being yourself and leading with those core values, being honest and true, you're modeling to people how you want to be treated and showing them how you're going to treat them. And the right people will come to you and the other people will just fall away. But always learning something along the way and applying that wisdom to the next relationship.